Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Testing, testing, check, check. Check, 1, 2, 3.
Hi, James County Commissioner Court coming to order. This is a budget workshop. It's 11:40 a.m. And today is what's today? 18th, 19th day of August, 2022. And if you'll notice, our tech guys worked hard yesterday. There's no more handouts. So yeah, I'm blind in there, so I need a picture.
Don't want you at the nervous.
The microphone right on the desk, and it's you mute them by touching the button when the lights on for live, correct? The lights on is live, and when you touch it down here, it's muted. So, fine, a little housekeeping. Okay, so we worked yesterday on the budget. The committee did. Les Commissioner Hammond, it was his birthday, so I guess he took off. Happy birthday, Commissioner. My birthday was Wednesday. Oh, happy belated. Oh, you just. I'm working. It was yesterday. Look at the cookies. So then, you want the pie? Yeah. For your birthday? Yeah. Bless you. So we discussed yesterday in the committee was the 9.5 million from the Southern Cloud. 7.5 will be budgeted toward the City Boiler project, and then 2 million for the West Annex, which should be a little more than it's actually needed. With the numbers we got from Al Bush yesterday. That's just FYI. Aaron, we'll go with this.
Oh, yeah. So, we finally got our official rates in. So this Tuesday, I think, or last Tuesday, and then you sat down and we kind of finished up the rates. So you can see, I'm sure this kind of go over the spreadsheet one more time. The top left is the current rate and the collection rate. Bottom left is your no new revenue rate, and then the bottom right is your voter approval rate. So no new revenue rate is your yield effective tax rate, which is brings in the same amount of money as last year. The voter approval rate, that's 300% above the no new revenue rate. That rate does also include the unused income rate, which we talked earlier about, the difference between what you actually adopt. Don't subtract that out of the minus your VAR. So these are the rates. Give me questions, let me know. But it is official rate.
Okay. So we originally had this budget meeting to talk about a possible bond, and you guys met this week on it. I'm looking stuff on that. I think you want to discuss the building.
I would like to discuss the buildings. But Sherry, are y'all in a hurry to move? Or y'all have a time? You have time? Okay, we'll discuss the building first. Commissioner Combs and I did met with Samantha and Bobby Hall, Mike Leslie, and is that it? Aaron. I'm sorry, Aaron. What was that? Money man. And we were trying to get a 10-year plan together. And I think we did good. Really, we did come up with a list of facilities to look at a bond for May. And I asked Aaron and Commissioner Combs as well, what can we do on the bond without raising taxes in it? And Aaron told us, what did you say, Aaron? Roughly.
Oh, roughly, I mean.
I think we guessed 30.
Yeah, 30. I mean, but I think you probably do more. But yeah, I can work on that.
Okay. Because our ideal is if we're going to do a bond, it needs to be substantial enough that we can get some facilities completed. That is desperately needed within this county. Billy, do you have that list?
Yeah, we do. Actually, I've got Samantha's email that she sent out that summarized it.
Okay.
So projects that we talked about looking at for a May, and we did decide that
trying to rush everything right now and trying to get one for November probably isn't a good idea. It's probably not realistic. And, yeah.
Quite well.
But you know, the committee did feel strongly that it does need to go in a bond format and just do it back to, May. But we talked about taking from the settlement cloud and judge it, this might vary just a little bit from what y'all talked about yesterday. But, you know, from the settlement cloud, as slated in our CO discussions and what we did then, the monies from it were supposed to go to pay for the ball fields on Chambers Parkway. And we also took the money away from EW4 and used that money elsewhere. So in looking at Chambers Parkway and trying to get things going on there, kind of felt that it might be better to fund the Chambers Parkway community building now, so we can go ahead and get started with it instead of the ball fields. And put the ball fields back into the May election. And, you know, that's something that we can discuss. The other thing we looked at was the Anahuac Library, branch library. You know, we don't know. There was some confusion as to whether that was going to be in the P3 or not. Originally, I thought it was, but, you know, I don't know. That's something we need to verify. And if it's not going to be in the P3, then we need to do that, look at that in May also. Then we got the Belton Lane. You got the new school coming in. We got to do some road expansions and stuff on Belton Lane.
Yeah, we don't know the cost on that yet.
No, that, I know, but that's the stuff we're looking at for May. And also for Chambers Parkway, since the TERS funding is going to be delayed, you know, just so everyone will know, the legislation and the voter approved amendment to the Texas Constitution that would allow counties to do TERS and fund roads through those, but it passed both the House and the Senate overwhelmingly bipartisan, and it passed 65% on the voters. However, a lawsuit was filed, and that lawsuit has held up the governor signing it. So until that is settled, we can go ahead and form the TERS, we can set the boundaries, which we're going to do Tuesday, but we can't fund it. So we've talked about getting some additional right of way for Chambers Parkway through May bond election also. And the other thing that we looked at doing in May is the West Side tax office. Now, since that time, I've thought, and when we built RWJ drainage system, that was done with bond or grant money from the Hurricane Ike project, and it was not completed in time, and that project never got finished. And so we really need to get that estimate what it's going to take to finish that project and put that off into the May election also.
That's just a preliminary list. I mean, we could, I mean, depending on what cost is, we could add something to it if we think another facility. We discussed the road and bridge yard as well.
We looked at one of the road and bridge yard with we did a roughly $10 million tax note. We're going to have a little over $2 million from it, and we can use the road and bridge, use that to do the road and bridge.
You're talking about the
Over here at the Anahuac.
The shopping warehouse.
The shopping.
that's included in, we worked on tax note yesterday, and what's going to be in it, and that is included in it.
Okay. Because Aaron said we're like 7 million something.
Well, in fact, we'll have, well, yeah, till yesterday.
Yeah, and then we added the.
So you'll have a list on Tuesday at the budget workshop, what's been moved in from the general fund into that tax note.
Okay. And does anybody else have, Commissioner Price or Hammond, have any other facilities you think might be needed to add to that bond?
Not right now. No.
The only other thing we discussed was, I think Mike Lesson them needed a building. I don't know where that's would be at. They build their facility and we let Parks take over that whole building there. So. But the reason I asked Samantha and OEM and all of them to be here, because I think we was discussing facilities and we're discussing the EMS facility that we got a $5 million plus grant for. And, the building estimate was 7 million. So we need to look at how we're gonna fund that as well. But, when I was talking with Ryan and everyone, and then I've been hearing there's gonna be a warehouse built, 25,000 square foot with 5,000 square foot offices. Did we budget that last year? When was that budgeted?
For this year, yes.
Was it during budget cycle? I mean, I don't remember it coming, when it come to court, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we did it during last year's budget cycle.
It will Maya too, because that's.
But
It's been quiet since we did it. I mean, I don't know where we are on it, but.
okay, so, and I think there's some confusion of who's moving in that facility. Because discussing with Quentin and Ryan, they felt, and I'm not trying to throw no one on the bus, that they needed to be in the EMS station because they're all.
We'll discuss that. We'll agree to that.
So, well, I mean, right now, there's only enough office space in there for Ryan's. There's not enough office space or base space to put Quentin in there.
I'm gonna.
And that's,
So, I mean,
That's my project. I'm gonna talk about it.
okay.
So yes, you're correct that first of all, to clarify, it is a $5 million grant. Any funds beyond that, the county will have to put in. And the conversation that we had was trimming the fat, trying to get the cost down, which I'm on board with 100%. That being said, if we add additional space and bays, it's going to cost more. And I just want to be 100% transparent, make sure that we're all on the same page about that. I mean, I have no issue with that. It's just, I don't want to get down the road where we put a bunch of work into it and then everybody kind of gets a little bit of a sticker shock on it. So I'm full transparency. I'll trim the fat as much as I can. I do understand that we want to be responsible with taxpayer dollars, but adding additional things costs additional money. And it is a specialized building too. So that's another thing we talked about, why the cost is what it is.
It is, but I want to make sure that everybody understands who's going into that facility. Because there's misunderstanding. Some of them think they're going to the warehouse or the EMS building and everything else. So we need to get that finalized so we can design it for what we need.
Correct. So, yeah. So I just need to know, are they going to come to my building that I'm working on? Are they going to the warehouse? What's happening there? The other question that got brought up was EOC, and just for the judge and commissioners who weren't present yesterday, what is being put in that building is not technically an EOC. It can function as an EOC.
It's going in the new.
Yes, the official EOC is going into the new Justice Center. We're putting a meeting room in this new facility that could function. Say we had a smaller scale activation where we didn't necessarily all need to go there.
Similar to the health services.
Correct. That we used to use in that capacity.
And also back, because I spoke with Ron before budget, because Anahuac has came to Ron and I both, and they want a new firehouse. And we discussed about attaching it onto there. If we continue to attach on, we're gonna be out of property and do it. So if we can build it on the site that it's on, if we move the EMS, it'd probably be better if we built that facility where it's at. Because their facility needs to be replaced.
So my recommendation, knowing the property that we're looking at for this, would not be to build the fire station there as well if we're adding in additional stuff. I think that the property is not well suited for that. But yes, we could look at that property, existing property or property on Airport Road, because we're working through that feasibility study right now and planning for some development there too. So my personal recommendation would be that we did not tack that onto this project.
Okay. And I also spoke with Ryan and them, because I asked, and when I talked with Ron, that we're building that facility big enough that we can store all of our first responder equipment in there during a bad storm. I do not want to stack all our first responder equipment in mid-county. It needs to be on the west side as well and east. So what I asked them, we're building another building like we built at the West Side Complex. If we take that facility right there before we start developing and put a door in where we could pull our apparatuses inside there during the storm, and even though it's a community building, we can still pull them in on the floor and then get them out when the storm's over. That'd be a better place to store West Side equipment.
I agree. I just make sure your door's big enough because they're tall.
I mean,
Yeah, and so this, what we have now, although that will change based on y'all's directive when we finish this conversation, we have, it's 2 drive-through bays, 4 roll-up doors, if that makes sense, on our preliminary design. So based on what y'all tell us to do today, that may change to accommodate Quentin and them, because I think they need, it's 4 drive-through bays.
And part of that's for storage during a storm.
Okay, well, then we may not have to modify it. Then we're good.
Do the other, then
We're good.
we may be able to do what you're talking about with the current space.
Yes.
Make sure, because Quentin and them needs a space to work on stuff.
Yeah, so that'll be the change, but what we can,
Well, EMS doesn't need 4.
no,
So,
no, no,
No, I agree.
so there should be,
correct.
for the footprint we have right now,
Mhm.
that should work if we do what it's talking about. In the-
Yeah, we're not too far into the design to the point where we can't change it if that is y'all's directive. So I just want to clarify
How
that.
many more office space do we need?
So I think, and I have to go back and look at it. When we had the first, me and Ryan, correct me on this, when we did the first initial design phase, when we were working on the grant, with the engineering and architecture firm, the discussion was 4 drive-through bays, so that we had 2 of them are going to be used all the time for the supervisors and the 2 ambulances that are stationed in Anahuac on a regular basis. The other 2 were basically for storage of apparatus and to have enough space to store everything in case we had a disaster, because that building is going to be 200-mile-an-hour hurricane wind rated with drop down hurricane shutters, all 9 yards. So it's a specialized building. It's one reason a little bit more expensive. 12 offices, I think, is what we put in there, which gives us enough for EMS, the 3 office staff that I have, the supervisor that's on duty 24/7, all of Ryan's staff out of the fire marshal's office, safety, and the 2 additional offices were for expected growth. So there's office space already in that preliminary design to put Quentin in there. And we can always set them up with one of the bays to use to work out of on a regular basis. We'd have to reconfigure the building though, because their office with all of their electronics and stuff, I don't think was put into the initial design. So we'd have to see what the cost perspective on that would be to give them their own space.
That and
For that.
storage as well. It all needs to be done. So we need
And
to
I
work
would ask
together.
that if we're gonna do this, we do it right, and that we don't build just what we need today. Understanding as quickly as our county is growing, we're gonna need to expand. So even if we build in storage rooms that can be converted to an office at a later space, at a later date, I want to do this right if we're gonna do it. There's no point in us.
Just like we're doing the Justice Center, same thing.
Right.
With
Room for.
plans to expand.
Yes,
I
so
mean, adding on the bay is just stretching the building. out.
So do y'all have a preliminary drawing of the building?
we have a very, very rough
We have a
site
layout,
plan.
yeah.
Because all we've done is submit the application. We're actually in the kind of design phase right now, so. I
So
don't
once you
right now.
get a preliminary drawing, then you can show what the plans are to put everybody in, and the warehouse and the
Yes,
EMS station.
yes. Yeah, but I just need directive from you guys on what exactly you want me to do. And whatever you decide is fine with me.
I think what we're talking about.
That's fine, but it's gonna be money. And I-
Well, it shouldn't be a whole lot more if we,
No, it shouldn't be a whole lot more, but if we're gonna do that, I'd like to add at least 1 to 2 more offices. Because again, I want to plan for growth. I don't want to kick the can down the road to the point where 2 years from now, we're all looking at each
by
other.
the time we move in it, we're already out of room. Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
So,
And I'd add another bay and a few more offices.
okay,
And then I don't know how much storage they're gonna need, but I mean, it needs to be adequate.
I agree. Now, what we'll do is trim the fat, like we've already talked about doing. We'll trim the fat before we add that in, make sure that there's no unnecessary fluff. We'll come back to you guys with that amount.
So right now you got 4 bays, but do you have room to expand bays on? That's,
Yes, and if
that's
it's
what we
being
need.
designed,
Yes.
I don't think we
so
do it
that-
right now. We just design it so you can do it.
Yes, it is being designed. That's one of the things that we asked, was that it was designed so that it could expand. So, but again, I don't want, if we're gonna commit, I want to commit, and I don't want to sticker shock everybody later on down the road and then say, oh, no, we're not doing this. So,
Okay, so I'm hoping that's settled. Now, warehouse.
Before we get off,
Oh, go ahead.
Warehouse?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I guess a good question, I guess, for Ron. Are we sure we're building this in the right place? Should you be closer to Interstate 10?
So we tried to find it. So we ran into 2 problems. So the first problem was we were very short time frame on the grant. And we had to find something, we were trying to put as much money into the building as possible without procuring land and paying the additional grant funds to procure land and things of that nature. So you run into two problems, and we've looked at that, and we've done the study, and we put that as part of our building plan for the future that we guys have been working on.
Yeah,
We've got
I
your
saw
plan.
that, and that's why I'm thinking, if we're getting ready to spend $7 million, $5 to $7 million, I think we need to make sure we got it in the right location.
So if we move it up towards the interstate, you run into the same problem we kind of have right now. It's actually now we're extending the response time we're adding a longer response time to Oak Island, Double Bayou, Smith Point, which is already a 20-minute response time. So as we grow and as the county continues to grow, we're strategically going to have additional stations, even if it's just a small one bay for one truck with living quarters for the medics. We're going to need to start building those. And that's kind of what we put on the expansion plan out throughout the different parts of the county. Because if not, then we're going to be kind of like we are right now. Yesterday we went level 0 twice. We had 4 trucks in service, had 2 supervisors on duty. We had nobody available because all the calls kind of dropped at the same time. And so we're trying to figure out how to plan that for the future. Having 280 square miles of cover, the only way to do that appropriately is to have a truck on the southwest side of the county, a truck up by Interstate 10 on the west side of the county, a truck up by Interstate 10 in mid-county, a truck further south down Oak Island, Double Bayou, that can kind of strategically shift and also have trucks to lower those response times.
So what's your response time to I-10? Right now,
It depends on where we're going on I-10. It depends on the
but I mean,
traffic.
just getting I-10.
Just to get to I-10 takes about 7 minutes from the Anahuac station. And then we had, depending on traffic, how big the accident is, what direction we're having to go. Is it on top of the bridge? Is it past 807? There's a lot of different factors that go into play on those response times. We actually had yesterday, we dispatched an Anahuac truck to a wreck on the westbound side because they're going to get there much faster on the westbound side of the bridge than the truck coming from Cove, because now they're stuck in all the I-10 traffic and can't get to it. So we're already kind of doing some of that. But as the county continues to grow, we strategically need to start placing those stations throughout the county. We already have the 4 trucks, so it's just having those stations to move them and shift them. And we already do system status management. So if both trucks in Anahuac are gone, one of the trucks from Cove comes over and covers why those trucks are gone and transporting. So we're already doing that to kind of help lower the response times and reduce our coverage area. It's just trying to plan all of that out.
So instead of having larger stations, it may make more sense to have smaller stations spread out more.
Yes, sir.
But right now with the grant.
Right now,
and
the grant,
deadline,
yeah.
we pretty much got to go forward with what we're doing.
So we looked at moving it into a different location, and me and Sam, we had those discussions with Patrick from the grant management team. And the problem is all the environmental studies and all the things that we had to do for the grant were done for that specific region. So to move it now would probably cause the grant to just go away completely.
I had to ask.
Yes, sir.
Of course.
Go ahead.
Warehouse. So we are moving forward. Have we had any design, anything on that warehouse? Bill?
I know Bill's been working on it.
Morning,
Bill.
Because I asked.
Morning, Bill.
Good morning. Because I asked Mike, and Mike hadn't been involved with it.
By his choice, sir. We do have a preliminary design. We do have preliminary specifications. We're working to schedule a DRC to meet with the various county regulators to review the preliminary design to make sure that what we have is consistent with the various codes and requirements for the county's regulations, building codes, electrical, that kind of stuff. We can't do site because we're still waiting on the results of the study that Sam's doing before we can do any site specific work. Yes, there has been and has been circulated for quite some time preliminary sketch drawings, floor plans, office layouts, that kind of stuff with general dimensions. I'd be happy to forward that on
Who's
to
your
you.
engineer?
We haven't got to the place of engineer yet. We're still trying to just get the preliminary design work done.
We really need to get Mike and his group involved.
He has
So-
attended the meetings, or when he has chosen to attend the meetings, he's been there.
We can
and-
work on that.
And he's also received copies of the sketches, the drawings, that kind of stuff.
Who else will be in, we're building 5,000 square foot office space in there. Who's gonna be in there?
It's based on, as a matter of fact, one of the meetings that we had, Commissioner Hammond basically instructed me to go with a two-story footprint
I agree.
over that 5,000 square foot footprint. There is no specific assignment yet of offices because we're still in the design phase. So we will have,
Whose bill's liaison? Whose bill's liaison? Works for the court.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the
I
question.
said you work for the court. Who's your liaison?
I don't know.
The
if
judge.
Bill- Yeah, I don't know if Bill has a liaison. Oh.
Okay, I was just curious.
Well,
What kind of building are we looking at a steel frame building or what?
Tilt slab.
tilt wall.
Tilt wall?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Tilt wall is the preferred method and go with 150-mile-an-hour rated structure.
Now, Kevin,
So
stand up there, Kevin.
the original intent for office space in the building was 15 office spaces. The original intent was to have OEM Fire Marshal's office in that building along with preparedness. And because of the warehouse capabilities in there, and we both deal with each other. So that was the original intent. But now that the fire station, okay, if that moves around, then that moves around, but it's still the way we planned on it was 15 office spaces, just like we were going to originally do on the west side of the county originally. But since we only moved it to mid-county, then that was the original design to kind of free up the office space inside the health services building. So that would take the staff that is currently in the conference room and in the WIC side and move them over to those vacant office spaces. And it just puts preparedness in there. And then that's it, along with fire marshals, OAM and all that, people that would do that. But now, I mean, we just have to rethink that, or you still keep that space for expansion later on. That's what we want to do, to make sure we have enough office space for expansion. So that was the original intent for that.
Okay.
For the office
I
space.
just I can't get my head around why we need 25,000 square feet.
I can't either.
I can't wrap my head around it. I mean, that's twice as big as White's Park building. It's New McLeod. It's big as Walmart. I mean, do we really need 25,000 square feet?
Yes, sir, we do. And we sat down and basically discussed that, 3 years ago, Kevin? We did some layouts, for instance, the plan is for us to have on hand 150 pallets of water for emergency supplies.
Commissioner Hammond had that water deal straight that there are other people.
We've been working on it, so, yeah, I don't know that we have to have that much on hand.
Well, in order for us to support a pod for 3 days locally, yes, sir, that's the amount that we need to have on hand. That's not
How many cases of water?
no, sir, not cases,
How many-
pallets,
How many pallets? Sorry.
150. It takes 50 pallets a day to support a pod that has 500 vehicles moving through it a
And
day.
we've got to be prepared for 72 hours to take care of ourselves.
Yes, sir.
Most definitely, I've been on that.
And
That water is
roughly
life.
90 pallets of MREs. So you're talking about a considerable amount of volume.
Floor space.
Yes, sir. That's to take care of Chambers County residents. Nobody else. That's what we have to have to supply a pod, a point of distribution of disaster supplies for the 3 days that we know that we're going to be on our own until outside resources can start getting to us.
So how many pallets high do you stack?
You can only stack pallets of water 1 pallet high. You can't
Even with
double
pallet
stack them.
racks?
Oh, with pallet racks? No, sir. I can go up with them. Each pallet weighs roughly 2,200 pounds.
Yeah.
So,
Warehouses stack
yes,
things like that all the time.
yes, sir.
And I still, honestly, I cannot get my head around 25.
25,000 square feet isn't as big as your number thinks.
It is.
You
as
think
big as
it is.
Used to be.
Well, when you say tilt wall or 200-mile-per-hour wind, $5 million, I don't think that's gonna get.
No, sir. It's 150-mile-an-hour winds.
I still, how much we just spending on that new building over there, Billy,
Well,
Which
the,
building?
west side?
$450 a foot.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
Yeah, I can do those in my head.
You know.
It's a lot of money.
But
You
anyway,
ain't
I
gonna build
don't,
25,000 square foot, 150 mile an hour wind. Or $5 million, it ain't gonna happen.
If we have $5 million, I mean, can we build a $5 million building and not go $3-4 million over?
Sir, I don't know the answer to that question because we haven't gotten finished with the preliminary design work.
Okay.
So right now it would be pure speculation, and with the dynamic nature of construction costs right now, I really couldn't and don't feel comfortable offering you any kind of estimate.
Okay.
The original estimate we did get on the west side was it, and I think sent it in emails
Right.
to you all, it was $4.5 million, $4.2 million for those in Bay 10 Park, where those are already built. They were gonna build them anyway. So they're built, they're sitting there. The other part was just to build out the office space that's in there, and that was left over. Of course, we secured a grant from CDC to cover 1.2 million of that, to lease that building back from the county itself. So, I mean, I don't know what that would be over as far as us taking care of that. We had other funds that were secured to renovate the West Side Clinic. But then now we know that the West Side building is gonna be a portion of that, that's gonna house the new health department on the second floor, or third floor, whatever floor it's on. And then there were some other funds that we had to kind of help that along, but I mean, since we're moving into mid-county, then I don't know what, and then it's been probably now over a year and a half or so. So of course, as long as we,
I mean, of course, but
yeah, we further keep going down, it keeps going down.
See, the quote that you got from Ameriport, I mean, that's $180 a square foot. That's probably pretty real. But they're not designing to 155-mile-an-hour wind loads and not getting all elaborate. I mean, they're a shell that's been built. And that, I understand that, but like he just said, the West Side complex that we're building right now, $450 a foot, designed like that, you know. We just gotta be realistic.
That's what I'm saying. If we shrink it down. and
you're
just
talking
do-
about,
If we do a $5 million, we'll still do a
We
$5
just
million.
stick in the budget.
We shrink the size.
you're talking about the West Side complex building, the community building.
Community,
Yeah.
right?
Just want to make sure everybody's clear on it.
Yes.
So talking to Al Bush, about the tax office, West Side Tax Office yesterday. Year ago, the price to do it was estimated cost of $3 million. It's going up 3.5 to 3.7. So,
Everything's going up. It's crazy.
So, and I think I'm kind of Bill's liaison because, he reports to fire marshal on part of his duties. And then he reports to the court for the other part, so.
Okay, so whoever runs liaison, that's a good way of looking at it.
well, actually, it's under emergency management, so, but I don't manage to be a liaison, so that Will Fish should do that, but
Well, yeah,
under the emergency management side, where he reports to Ryan, it's under me, so. By statute.
Well, you got 2 liaisons.
Mhm.
You're lucky.
That's one description term, yes.
Okay. Anybody have anything else for Bill?
If you want to fill out a form and I'll give you a 3-minute citizen comment time,
It won't take 3 minutes. It's just, having been involved with this.
but you need to go to the mic and state your name for the record.
All right. Gloria Romer, is it on? Yeah, Gloria Romer. I live in Stowell, the Seabreeze speaking. As you know, I've been involved with emergency management for quite a long time when I was in Harris County. I suggest that our people contact HEB and Budweiser and Walmart, because having been in emergency situations, the very first ones that come out with water is Budweiser. And, you know, they have the water in the aluminum cans, and HEB.
Got one back there.
Yeah, in HEB and Walmart. And they do that within the 72 hours. So if you're looking at to have less space with storage, I suggest y'all partner with them and talk about, you know, that kind of thing, and also maybe equipment, staging things, because they're there and they're wonderful, wonderful partners whenever we need them.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's
we
just a
partner with
suggestion.
Walmart warehouse.
Yeah.
plenty over the years. Thank you.
Morning. I was just gonna kind of add in there when we had a budget, I guess, committee meeting last week and visiting with Commissioner Hammond. One of the things that he was talking about, or we visited about was a new EMS building and how that's, I think there's $5 million, that's a $5 million grant. We don't want to lose out on those grant dollars. And so I think that the reason why last year this got put on the budget for this year, it was in September, is because Kevin brought the plans for the west side. We decided to move it to mid-county and that money was budgeted for because we have $1.2 million identified to go towards that project, as well as $56,000 for office equipment and like $25,000 for racks for the warehouse. So I just wanted to keep that in mind. Of course, we do have the grant funding. It's through 2024. And I sent some items to Commissioner Hammond about our grant funding last week after we had a committee meeting. So I just wanted to remind you about that too. So, I mean, if it's the court's decision, this is OEM and FEP. And Bill can kind of tell you, we're probably already mostly out of room. I'm not a design person as far as how much space. 6,000 feet to me looks like 12,000. I have no idea. I'll leave that up to the experts, but we do know that we're already running out of space currently, and we don't have, a lot of times we don't have room to store the supplies we have. We've got them in the hangar and other places. So I just want to remind you about the grant funding as well.
Thank you.
Talking about the water. If you said on side by side, they wouldn't take up the 3,000 square feet. That's not a second lot. That's a 5 foot by 5 foot pallet, you know.
25 square feet. Say those numbers again, Billy, so I don't have to go to my calculator.
Roughly, so take 150 times 20.
Yeah.
And I did put.
So, I mean,
I don't see.
here's the amount of money we have. Let's build to it
37.
with plans to expand it. If that's what the court's leaning toward, what it sounds like to me.
So your grant, Fairbairn, would be on the $1 million grant or whatever would be on top.
1.2.
I'm sorry, 1.2 million will be on top of the 5.
No, sir, that was to help supplement that. We would lease it back from the county. So it would be 5 million and then 1.2 million of that, we would actually lease the building space from the county.
Okay.
Until the funding right now, that we can still purchase all the office equipment and the racks.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Bill?
No,
How many square foot is the current warehouse?
The total size of,
Floor space.
the total size of the building is 6,000 square feet. The space that we currently have now is roughly 4,000 square feet.
4,000. and
storage.
The other 2,000 is climate control
Yes, sir.
per se.
Yes, sir. And understand that you can't use 100% of the floor space of any building.
No.
There's got to be 12-foot aisles between the racks in order to facilitate the movement of pallets with a forklift and other things. And so the number of 25,000 square feet isn't just storage space. It also includes the aisleways, the drives for the drive-throughs and all that. So there's a lot more to it than just.
I know, I'll just put it in perspective.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
I think our main thing was we would like to see it stay within the budget.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Understand that this was the figure that the committee came up with 3 years ago, and we've been working with since, and the price has gone up over that 3-year period of time.
Definitely.
Yes.
So, and it's gonna fluctuate. I have a unfortunate feeling that it's gonna get more expensive before it gets less.
It still just dropped 10%, 2 weeks ago, so hopefully.
So, you know, we'll have to see. And it is kind of important to have the building able to withstand the hurricane force winds because we are in the high wind zone for a hurricane strike. And it really would be functionally a poor decision to put your emergency supplies in a structure that's going to fail or is designed to fail under hurricane conditions. So that's, again, all of these factors were rolled into this. The other thing is we intended for this building to be a prototypical building, that it would be the design, no matter where we put warehouses, emergency warehouses in the county, they would all be the same. So we pay for the design of the building one time and not 3 or 4 different times as we build 3 or 4 different warehouses. So all of that is part of the decision, and we do intend to make it modular so that at least on one end, it can be extended in the future if we needed to. So if you needed to put an ambulance bay on one end of it, the header is in place for a man door, and you can go ahead and extend the building. And there's already a knockout, so to speak, for a doorway into that additional square footage. So we're trying to do as much of flexibility and, like I said, prototypical design, so we're not continuing to pay for design features every time we build one of these.
Okay, let me make a suggestion that Kevin and Bill, you take these 2 commissioners and put them in your committee with everything you're working on. Sam, take these other 2 and put them with you. Then so we'll keep Commissioner Ford
Hammond's already working with Bill.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ham's already been.
on
with-
this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
And
so you take these
Gord,
2
I've
and
been
Sam, you
working
take
with
these 2.
Pat already, so.
Are y'all fighting over who gets?
Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds to me like.
We want to, Sam.
It sounded like they're fighting over who gets stuck. with
I
it.
want to say I appreciate it.
That's all right.
Because when Commissioner Hammond and I and Samantha and everybody met, we didn't know who was going where. And this gives a little clarification. We greatly appreciate
Look
it.
forward to it.
All right, so that's, you pick 2, Sam, however that works out. And Bill, you and Kevin pick 2.
And,
My only other deal I had was with the sheriff's office. So,
okay, and before I leave, I just want to let you know, I will send you an email with the preliminary design, the footprint of those buildings.
I don't want to ride the torch too much, but I do want to just throw something on the table. Why are we funding that out of the general fund instead of putting it on that May ballot?
I thought the
And we
warehouse
could
was
put-
out of 091.
Yeah, it's 091, it's not general fund. And it still could go in the. on
It
the
still could go on the May
Yeah.
ballot. Yeah, I just think we
If
need
we're-
to, I think we need to make a good effort to try to
Put everything we can.
put our long-term debt, amortize it over a longer period of time instead of taking it out of reserve.
Well, you can't use, you're gonna get yourself in trouble if you use your maintenance and operating for capital, long-term capital.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I know.
I don't want
Yeah,
you,
that's what you're saying. I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you
okay.
for sure. Because you've got to have that maintenance and operating.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir.
I
Thanks,
was
Bill.
just
Thanks,
gonna
Bill.
add, on the, when we met last year about the warehouse space, I think some of the concern was just like you had mentioned about pre-staging supplies when a disaster comes, and having everything mid-county being cut off. And one of the suggestions was either adding on a community building, talking to some industry partners. We also talked about maybe the wildlife fisheries building out there. I'm sure it's hurricane rated, just to give us a space to where we can when everything's stored in mid-county, that way we can kind of, pre-stage those items. So anyway.
And we have used Fish and Wildlife over there on East Time. For pre-staging, so,
Yeah.
Thank you.
and Trinity Bay, we use them. Okay,
My-
what you have the sheriff? Say?
The sheriff, was my last deal.
Good morning.
And
Y'all get out of here, go back to work.
thank y'all.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, after last budget meeting, when I looked at the deal and it said 5 for the west side paid by industry, I'm 100% in support of 5 new deputies on the west side. Without a doubt. Ever since I've come in office, I've always expressed to the judge and the sheriff, I want 2 deputies per area, per shift, day and night for safety. Every time these deputies step out of that car, it's life or death. And we got that reference the other day in Stoll, Texas, when one of our deputies got assaulted. And there was no backup around. This is not the first time this has happened. We had another incident here a few months ago when there was no backup around and they were sending deputies from Jefferson County. I happened to be listening to the scanner. I called Constable Dugat. He was the first on the scene. I think Sheriff Brian Hawthorne was first on the scene in Stoll, Texas.
They almost threw me out of the
Uh,
car, though.
Because we had 2 high-speed chases going because of theft within this county. My concern, and I'm passionate about it, is the safety of our public and the safety of our deputies. I feel, and this is me, I feel 100% support the 5 deputies on that side. I would like, we put 2 on this side, I would like to see it go to 5, because I spoke with the sheriff. 2 is not gonna do any good for his shift rotation. He said it actually takes 5.1. I don't know where that 1% per person is walking around, but we need at least 5.
Call it 5.
5 to fill a shift on this east side. We don't have the people count, we have the territory, and we have the crime.
And the 5 on the west side, Billy's working with them
Oh, no,
to reimburse us on
And yeah,
that.
that will be totally funded from this.
I'm
Which
100%
is
support of it.
correct.
100%. But I brought, the sheriff brought me in because they're gonna give you some statistics and other stuff of crime on the east side.
So crime in,
Morning, Cap.
good morning,
Morning,
Captain.
Cap.
Hey, Captain.
Eric of Army of Jordan.
Thanks.
And I've got Captain Brian Baker with me.
Morning, Captain.
We have the same haircut as the judge.
You like that, too, don't you? No maintenance.
No, it's very easy.
Going around here.
But so crime in Chambers County, each of the last 5 years has increased significantly. Last year, we were up over 6,000 reportable incidents, and we're looking to surpass that this year. A lot of our crime comes from the east side just because of location. We have the I-10 corridor, we have Highway 73, we have Highway 124 going to the beach. Highway 124 and parts of I-10 going through the Winnie area is on our selective traffic enforcement program because of all the accidents and heavy machinery moving in that area. So with that increased ease of movement into the area, our hotels are right there off of the interstate, so we're seeing more crime in there, a lot of catalytic converters, a lot of auto burglaries, and then also a lot of drug activity because of Port Arthur and Beaumont, and then also moving into Jefferson County. So we are seeing an increased amount of crime in that area. The other issue that we're having is a mental health crisis. And with drug use comes a lot of mental health issues. And I'll just kind of touch on the incident that happened the other night. One of our female officers got called out to Stoll. She responded. As she was getting ready to get out of the car, the guy walked up and punched her through the window, hit her in the face. As the commissioner stated, we had some other stuff going on. It took the first responding deputy in uniform over 15 minutes to arrive. And I don't know how many of you have ever been in a fight. I fight all the time. But 5 minutes is a long time. And so you're talking about a female deputy having to fight for 15 minutes. And I would submit to you that that is an officer safety issue. That's a life or death issue. And also it's a service to the community issue. Only having one deputy in that area, we're very proud of our response to calls for service in a timely manner. And by having that one deputy there, that decreases that response time. Fortunately, we had some smart people and a good sheriff that was paying attention to the radio. We had one of our deputies call Ethan Kayla, who was off duty, and he responded with his badge and his gun in shorts. And he was the first responding officer. And I would say that we don't need that to be the norm. What we need is we need another deputy in that area so that we have 2 deputies responding so that we are providing a better service to the community and it is safe for our officers to do so.
And I talked with DPS today, and I talked with the sheriff about this as well as Captain Caboni and all of them. DPS is 5 down now. They're not coming back. They have transferred out, moved up the chain. All of our new recruits, we usually get 20 of them or something like that within Chambers County. From what I was told, they're going to the board for 2 to 3 years. So we're not gonna be heavily relying. DPS is here, but their presence is gonna be less just because of the border and the administration we have that's creating this issue.
We have the 2 DPS officers.
Yeah, but on the west side, and I'm 100% in support of everything on the west side, we have Baytown PD, we have Mount William PD, we have Barbers Hill during the daytime that can respond. We have Chambers County, we have DPS, game warden. I don't think we have 2 in the county. on the east side, we're kind of limited just to DPS and Chambers County.
And game board.
And the game wardens. And so it's a little bit of concern. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, if we vote on it, I'm voting to add 3 more to the budget. I talked with Aaron with us taking that 2 million out for the road and bridge building. I think we can fit them in there and make it work and make the other 5 on the other side work too. Because we need to be proactive. This county is growing.
Yeah,
We have.
we can make it work.
So,
So that means we'll add a total of 5 new deputies instead of 2.
But
And including the other
asked for
5.
4. He'd originally asked for 4.
Right.
And we cut it back, and then
We cut it
he
to 2.
said we'll cut it back to 2, but
Yeah, now keep in
No.
mind, one other thing to keep in mind, whenever I made the motion to eliminate one of the JPs and constables, the motion also included that funds from that would be shifted over into law enforcement.
That's correct.
which inadvertently it is.
Yeah, I understand.
We're having 2 new deputies, we're having, new jailers and dispatchers and.
And and this is just me saying this. I have not spoken with any of the constables or nothing like it. I know they're willing to respond. My thought process is with that, if we have situations like this, I feel that we need to have some kind of paging system on those constables that they can be hot paged and they can show up. I don't know what they have now. I don't know. I think that's something we need to look at, Judge. I mean, and discuss with them, with the sheriff or whoever. But I mean, it'd be great if something was going down like this. I mean, their presence would be a lot. So usually they know the people in the neighborhood and know where everybody's at.
So, Aaron, I know we've discussed this, but 1 deputy costs what? When the time you outfit them, the benefits, is that about 150,000 or so per deputy?
Yeah, salary benefits on 65,000.
Well, the 5 we're talking about, is 825,000 for the industry, so that's it.
And we already had 2, so we had 3 more. So
On the sheet, you're saying there's 2 there, you want to add 3 more?
That's correct.
3 more to the east side.
And we'll do that. And figure out how to make that work. And of course, then you'll have to vote on it. The committee can put those in.
Is that just for the 5 deputies or is it like a deputy supervisor?
That's, you have to ask the sheriff and Captain Commandant, and I think that's 5 patrol deputies.
Anytime you have, so we're broken into 4 shifts. When you look at the 5th, you have people out on sick leave, vacation, training, things, it comes off the vote.
So are you okay with budgeting 5 deputies or do we need budget 4 deputies and a supervisor?
I think the intent was 4 deputies and a supervisor.
Okay. Aaron, answer your
It's
question.
exactly what he had requested in his,
Okay.
your budget request, I think.
Yes.
All right.
So we just go back to that.
So how's your patrol set up now? Okay.
So I got this little cheat sheet here for you. So minimum staffing issues, we have 5 on duty. That, you can see how it's broken down. 66% of the population comes from the west side. But that's really not crime wise, when you get down to CCID, obviously it's not as significant as it is in the Winnie Stoll area. And by adding that extra deputy would allow us to have a minimum of 2 in each district, which would be tremendous for officer safety and response to our citizens.
So the sergeant's out on patrol also.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
How much responding do we do in the city of Mount Belvieu? Do they cover all that?
They cover every bit of that. Now, if they ask for assistance, we'll go, but usually we do the Old River area. We stay out of Mount Belvieu for the most part.
Okay.
Unless they need-
Go into the annex or doing paperwork or something.
Right.
And the same thing with Baytown, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
And you gotta remember, Baytown does not respond to anything in our industrial areas outside our city limits.
Really?
They don't respond to anything, nor does Mont Belvieu, only within their corporate limits.
I'll tell you what, I think this here, I mean, doing this here will make our citizens feel a lot better.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's,
Safety and.
I mean, you're talking about with increases, deputy pay and this, you're talking about $1 million
Yes.
increase in the budget. So, which is fine, other than the fact I know there's been talk about staying with the new revenue rate. you can't do that with the increase in
You can't.
law enforcement and all the other things we need to do.
When our county is outpacing what we're capped at, that's the only thing that concerns me, because we are outpacing the growth. And I mean, I know people say what services do we get, but for the tax rate that we have, we provide a lot of service. When you narrow it down to what, say Trinity Bay or someone else or school is giving for their tax rate, for the number, we're giving a lot across this county for our tax rate.
What's the sheriff's office budget there?
So, yeah, so
You know,
you're gonna increase,
gotta be.
as right now, besides the deputies here, yeah, you're looking at about a 7.8% increase in this budget. So,
So what's amount though?
$1.2 billion.
Increase, what's the current budget?
Current budget is 16, and it's going to 17.3.
Bless you.
Yeah, the 5 deputies, the price that I've got for the 5 deputies with equipment and all for the industrial is 820,000 or 825.
825, which is in the email.
And industry's on board with it, I guarantee you.
Well,
Yes. And
they're being led.
Yeah, Billy's working on it.
Well, I know, you're doing a great job.
We're not doing it as an ask.
No, I know.
Okay.
Where's that put us at on our budget?
So still kind of rough numbers besides the new deputies. The general fund right now has a surplus around 400.
But before you put the new deputy down,
Before you put the new deputies.
that's after the budget works out, budget committee works out yesterday.
Now, I know we got it funded in this year, but the money for the $5 million that was budgeted for the warehouse. If we take that, I mean, that would be carried over.
Yeah, and that's different fund to.
Different fund, okay.
Yeah, that's not general fund. So,
That's right.
yeah. Okay.
Well, irregardless, we have to keep sheriff's department safe. People safe and, yeah, both for sure, but it starts with them, so.
So how's she doing? The deputy?
She's fine.
Good.
Yeah, she was a little
Good.
shocked at first. She's a brand new deputy. She's been here less than a year.
Good.
And that was her first incident.
That's a
And
good sized guy.
yes, and at first, because there was so much going on when it happened, they weren't sure what happened. She was crying, she was uncontrollable. She wasn't screaming on the radio, but she was louder than normal. Yeah, and it was concerning, yeah.
Well, let her know we're thinking about her.
Yeah.
I'll say that guy's lucky she didn't shoot him.
And that's why I say, that's why I applaud the court for us moving forward to do this here. Because it probably gives her peace of mind knowing that someone's gonna be there to back her up in the future.
But, and I'll be honest with you, Judge, we've had deputies come here and not stay because they knew that they were working a district by themselves.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna solve that issue. So,
Sir.
yeah. Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate what y'all do.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sherry.
All right. Aaron, what else do we have to discuss? I know
Yeah.
we'll have some things ready on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, it must be Tuesday afternoon, we'll have things ready, schedule, not this court, enough for after, but the salary. Also, on that board, we'll have to propose a tax rate. So we can do the public hearing at the end of September, adopt it.
Can you send out some of that line on suggested dates?
I think, didn't you give us that?
Yeah, there is,
Yeah.
that one, it might not show on the tax rate, but I'll.
Just get, once you make an update, it won't be Tuesday. Okay, we've worked well with the auditor's office to get this budget in place. I appreciate all the hard work. Me and your girl.
So where we're at right now, we'll drop the tax rate sale 4.8. Yeah.
Tax rate is 0.537.
539.
539.
So we'll go to 0.49.
491. 492.
Okay. And I know, I mean, that's above the no new revenue rate, but when we consider we're adding 5 new deputies and 8 jailers.
And a couple dispatchers.
I mean, I'm good with it. I mean, I know people wants to keep it at no new revenue, no. new
Would love to
revenue
be
rate.
able to.
Love to, but we've got about 20,000 new homes heading this way over the next
Well,
5 years too.
You know, only the cost for everybody's going up, the citizens, also the cost of county operating.
That's right.
Has increased. We've got equipment and personnel.
Well, I heard that, Martin said the other day, we got 0 inflation.
Yeah. Who did? Oh, yeah, I heard that.
Your president?
Nobody tell HEB that.
All right, anything else we need to cover today? Aaron, you guys got anything else?
No.
All right,
I got
then we,
bugs, but I don't know what it is.
we're adjourned at 12:40 p.m.
Great point.